I lost money on a ton of the projects that year. I couldn't make payroll taxes. I had to cut our personal pay way down. Then there is the lack of financial management on that side. You're just trying to all right, get your projects that you booked done, and you're just trying to get through. And I didn't have anybody else to help. You come home and every night I'd lay in bed, try to turn my mind off. Kind of just felt trapped. I got kids, I got a wife. I was just man, what am I doing? Okay, if I quit and I go get a job, what's the outlook for the next 5-10 years of my life? Well, we didn't get into your program until I had already gone through all that, right? So it's I'd watched Eric's stuff on YouTube and stuff for a while. I just put it all on the credit card and I was this is my best bet to get out of this hole. It took me a good year to really fully start adopting everything. We did pretty good, and we don't have a single bad review. It's all 5 stars across the board, and we just cleared 100 reviews, which isn't crazy, but for our area, it's pretty good, considering the only other companies have been around for multiple generations that have more than that. So,
hey everybody, Ben Landusky here with Painting Business Pro. Have a special guest today, Colton Steed with Mint Painting. On this podcast, we talked about the mistakes made in his first couple years of building his business, and what's going well now. He's effectively doubling his business from $720,000 last year in 2024 to over $1.5 million this year. And so we talked about the stark differences between the first 2 years and the second 2 years. We talked about subcontractors and how to treat them and how to help them build their businesses. We touched on commercial painting and a couple more things. He also asked me some questions at the end about scaling foothills painting and lessons learned there. So it's a great podcast. Hopefully you get a lot out of it. Take care. All right. Welcome to the Painting Business Pro podcast. I'm your host, Ben Landusky, and I'm on with a very special guest, founder and owner of Mint Painting out of Alberta, Canada, Colton Steed. What's up, Colton?
Hey, how you doing?
Good, man. Thanks for being on. I'm excited for this conversation. This is going to be great.
Yeah, me too.
All right. I just want to jump right in. So you've been in business 4 years, right? We were talking a little bit beforehand. 4 years?
Yeah, 4 years, just past the 4-year mark. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. What, tell us your juiciest failures. Tell us about all the failures you've had the last 4 years.
Yeah, it's hard to pick. It's hard to pick from them all.
Yeah.
I mean, the early stages, I feel like we actually almost didn't make it through the first 2 years just because I'd come from, 10 years ago, I did a college pro painting franchise. So it's that whole student model. I did that for one summer before going off to business school. And when I came back and we started this 4 years ago, I was oh, that model is pretty decent. I'm just going to hire a ton of students. And we started it in the spring. So I was we'll just blitz hard for the spring. So we hired a handful of students, me and my brother painted during the day. We had students running crews. We did window washing at the same time. We were doing some lawn care too, our raking and that kind of stuff. And part of it was necessary to just put food on the table and pay the bills the first couple months. But we did cut that pretty quick. But we had the students quit right at the beginning of August, which was the craziest season. And so we got through that. I kind of skated through the fall and winter hired a couple other kids and had them work with me. And then the next year I was okay, I'm just going to train way better. We're going to have a better training program for 2 weeks. I'm going to hire 10 college kids. And I pre-sold, a bunch in the summer, which in hindsight wasn't that much, but I hired 10 college kids, trained them hard for 2 weeks. And then I just spent the rest of the summer fixing everything they did. And there was too many of them for me to really dedicate enough time to actually train them well enough on the things that were going wrong. And so I lost money on a ton of the projects that year. We ended I couldn't make payroll taxes. I was barely paying them every week. I had to cut our personal pay way down. We got to the end of that summer. They all left except for one kid. And it took me 2 years to climb out of the hole from that. Yeah, it was pretty bad. So that's probably the biggest one. I mean, there's been plenty of others along the way and, issues with jobs or employees we had to get rid of. But that was probably the biggest one that was really wasn't until last year that we cleaned the slate on all the back taxes.
Gee whiz, man. So what was the actual failure what was the failure itself? Just lack of money management?
It was kind of a lack of I mean, a few things. Like one, understanding how much, like, kind of just assuming I could spend 2 weeks training them and that, like,
Yeah.
things would be easy peasy and, send them to jobs. But there's just so many nuances to so many jobs that, without a lot of experience, there was like one or two of them that were pretty decent. And the rest of them, it just was like, not even their fault. They just didn't know what they didn't know. And so I was just having to
Lack of
redo so
training.
much. So really a lack of training. And I didn't have anybody else to help like manage them once I had them all off on job sites and kind of just felt trapped in the cycle, right? So then there is the lack of financial management on that side, which is like I was running around like a chicken with my head cut off. And so, I wasn't even looking at the numbers. At that point, you're just trying to like, all right, get your projects that you booked done and you're just trying to get through. So,
Yeah.
or at least that's how it
Yeah.
felt at the time. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Lack of training is a big one, man. I mean, anyone who's been in business for more than a year knows that. Like, okay, good enough. Now just go get me a bunch of
Yeah.
leads and I'm going to go do something else. I'm going to go work over
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did you I'm always curious about the mindset, cause the grind is real those first couple of years. How did you have the mental fortitude to stick with it? I mean, after 2 years of not making really any money and back
Um,
taxes and all that.
so I mean, at the time, I'm like, I uh I just was kind of looking at the options, right? And I'm like, okay, like I literally did like you're just like emotionally like you come home and every night I'm like I'd lay in bed and I would just like put on like I had a few songs I'd put on and I would just like try to turn my mind off, right? Because it was just like
Yeah.
I got kids, I got a wife, like I was just like, man, like what am I doing, right? And I think really it was just looking at the options because I'm like, we had a ton of student debt coming out of business school too. So I'm like, between my wife and I, we had 6 figures of student debt plus all the back
Mm,
taxes. So plus in the business, it ended up accumulating to like 50K plus and in business debt more or less and back taxes and credit cards. And it was just the balance felt so high that I was like, okay, if I quit and I go get a job, what's the outlook for the next 5, 10 years of our life? And it was not great. I was like,
yeah.
so it just really felt like you look at the options and from a logical standpoint, I was like, the only logical next step is just figure out what I need to figure out and find out how to do this right. Like the
Yeah.
best
Yeah.
likelihood of increasing the income enough to catch this up is that. And I mean it did pay off, but it was like that lit a fire under me for sure. And still didn't do things perfectly, but it's like, yeah, like we pretty well wiped the slate on both the back taxes and all the loans, student loans last year.
Nice, man. Congrats. That's
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah,
That's
is
super
man,
huge.
is a relief. So
Yeah.
now it just
Yeah.
transitions to like the urgency to like get as far away from that as possible. So
Right.
yeah,
Right. Well,
yeah,
I mean, I acknowledge you for the pain that is, like we went through very
yeah,
similar thing. I mean, especially with door to door, yeah, turnover is alive and well, especially when you don't train well.
yeah,
And for some reason, I just didn't learn that, like over and over again, wouldn't train people well enough. And then sure enough, after a few weeks or a few months, even at best a few months, then they'd quit.
yeah.
And have to do it all over again. And that's a serious grind. I think for people listening who are starting their business up, like if you're in year one or year zero, and uh, hopefully you learn enough from the Painting Business Pro course and from these podcasts and stuff where you don't have to have it suck so bad. But
Well, we
the
didn't
first,
get into like your program until like I had already gone through all that, right? So it's like
right,
I'd watched
yeah,
Eric's
yeah,
stuff on like YouTube and stuff for a while, but it was like it was
yeah,
actually like the January following like that catastrophic year that like I kind of worked through the fall and then I just put it all on the credit card and I was like, this is my best bet to get out of this hole. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Well, and look, I mean, again, acknowledging because not everyone does. A lot of people just quit, and not even like, oh, shame on you for quitting, but like it's tough, man. I mean, I remember times I'd wake up on a Saturday morning, like 7 a.m. to go door to door market and like, kiss my girlfriend on the cheek and be like, all right, you're gonna have a great Saturday doing whatever. I'm going knocking doors for 8 hours
yeah,
on Saturday.
yeah,
And there's so many times I wanted to quit, and I mean, I'm glad I didn't, but I get the quit. I get the wanting to quit and the quitting itself.
Yeah, I think
Um,
for me, it just like that just was never an option because I was like, the outlook on that is worse than the outlook of just pressing through it. That's how it
yeah,
felt, anyways. It just was like, I was like, I'm handcuffed to this now, I'm going to be, and if I don't want to be handcuffed to that debt for like the rest of my life, I was like, this is the only option. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I guess we had a little better than you, where we were, we had good subs and like we were making money from the start, so that part was
That helps a little
better, and
bit.
I was
Yeah.
able to, yeah,
Yeah.
I was able to pay off
Yeah.
my loans like
Yeah.
pretty much year one, which was nice,
Nice. That's
um,
awesome.
but it was still a grind. I think lesson learned here for those listening, like have a you said PBP came a couple years later, like
Yeah.
I'm not even like, okay, yeah, Painting Business Pro is a pretty good course. I mean, but I'm a little biased with that opinion. But just have a coach. Like if you're listening, like get a coach. I don't care if you're just starting a painting company or you've been in painting for 30 years and you're trying to actually build something. Like get a coach and like then follow the systems. We have a lot of people who buy the PVP course and then oh yeah, I didn't actually follow it for like a year or 2 years, like after I bought it. And now I'm glad I did, but it's like, yeah, don't do that. Like don't just follow it, just trust it. Follow it for a year, try it for 1 year, and I
Well, the
promise you
thing
it'll
is,
be a better
if you
experience.
start early, the thing is, it's like you don't have to break all your previous like mindsets about it. Like that's
Yeah.
harder. That's part of why I think a lot of people don't do anything sometimes. There's the initiative action, but then there's the like it took me like, a good year to like really fully start adopting everything. And like we did start doing some things and that's what started turning it around for us. But, now
Yeah.
it's a lot easier for me to be like, oh, yeah, I don't think the way we're thinking about this is right. We're going to change that. Like it's a lot easier. But
Yeah.
then it was like, oh man, I don't know about subs.
Yeah. Exactly.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, so fast forward. So last year, you were profitable last year, good profit margin.
yep. Yep.
What was your like rough net
So,
profit?
net profit, I'm like, well, I pretty well most of it went to like back taxes after I paid myself, but I was able to pay myself about 80K and then I paid out another like between taxes last year and back taxes, I paid another 80K to the CRA.
Okay.
So
So,
this is not bad.
uh, yeah. So, and you did at 720,000 last year. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah.
So you were over 20% net, 24% net, something like that.
Yeah, we did pretty good and like low overhead,
Yeah.
right? Too at that point. So yeah.
That's super good, man. I mean, yeah, over 20%. I mean, that's super healthy, and I'm trying to change I ask you that question first before revenue because everyone wants to talk revenue, like
Yeah.
that's the fun thing to talk about. But yeah, if you're doing, there was a year where Foothills, we did like just shy of 6 million with like a 6% net, so like
Oh,
worked my
brutal.
butt off and like
Yeah.
made more money the year prior doing like 4.5.
Yeah.
So I think profit needs to be just discussed more, just the health of a business. And that doesn't mean like cut costs and like be greedy, but like profit and revenue need to be talked about in the same conversation, I think.
Well, yeah, and
Um,
we were looking at this year too, and I'm like, there's this part of me that's like, oh, we got to push for two, we got to push for two, and then I'm like, yeah, but if we only hit 15% net versus 20% net at 1.5, well, you walk away with the same amount of profit. So why would you push? You can push for two still, but like, why would you push for two if your margins aren't where they need to be? Yeah,
right. Totally, man. Well, and there's this funny thing with like fast and slow, right? Like it, when you build a business the right way, it feels slow, but it's way faster.
yeah,
And I can tell you that from direct experience. Like trying to build it fast and hastily just causes so many problems. And so like we've had to like reinvent Foothills like multiple times.
yeah,
And it suffered. Like we could be at much more revenue and profit now if we would have slowed down and done it the right way.
yeah,
15 years later, like we could be way further ahead. And I'm, happy with where we're at and everything's good now. But we had to really reinvent like our whole mindset around running the business.
yeah.
Um,
Well, I've quite literally got that on my wall. The shortcut is the long cut. I'm like every day I'm looking at that because yeah, it totally
that's
is.
great.
That's 100%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
dude. Yeah, that's awesome. So, and then, what are you, so trending with good, what's like projected revenue profit this year? Just rough numbers, you think?
Our like hard goal is 1.5, so I'm hoping to
Hmm.
land somewhere between 1.5 to 2.
Cool.
And then as far as, net margins go, I'm like, our gross margin's been a lot more consistent this year, whereas last year I felt like it was all over the place with jobs. Last year we ended closer to 40. We're kind of mid 40s right now on the gross margin. So I've taken on a bit more overhead, like we've got office, shop, and then obviously
Yeah.
like team that we're taking on, but we're shooting for that 20, but hoping at a
Cool.
hard minimum to hit for sure 15 plus.
Okay. Nice. And you're at 827,000 revenue right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So cool. Trending for 1.5 ish. Um, and what is your team like? What's your org chart? What's your team makeup right now?
Yeah. So I've got full-time project manager, full-time sales rep, full-time office manager, part-time bookkeeper, payment processor. And then we've got another project manager who is also painting.
Okay. Nice. What actually to back up it 1 second, that to go from 720 to 1.5, even if you did like 1.3, I mean that's huge growth. What changed? I mean, that's a pretty distinct, increase.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of it, honestly, is starting the year with my project manager, and again, he'd worked with me for a couple of years as a subcontractor before. It
Hmm.
didn't take long. Like I spent a lot of time with him, but it only took a month or two for him to really be quite proficient and like really good. And he's just the right person, And so I feel like I
Yeah.
got really lucky in that way that like we already had a really strong relationship. I already knew his work ethic. He already knew how I operated. And so he was able to just step into that a lot quicker. There's still a lot of coaching that goes on weekly with, managing the nuances of situations, but that took so much off of my plate, to be honest, that he was able to really just take the reins on it after like 2 months in. So I
Yeah.
feel like from there, it's like that just has allowed all my other time to be on like, working with a sales rep and recruiting subcontractors and working on like sales. And then the other half of that is that every year our commercial repaint and commercial side of things, like we've got just a little bit more. And so this year we actually have like almost 500. Well, I don't know I could pull it up here quick. Let's see. I'm like, we've definitely got over 400, I think, in
Nice.
commercial work that's been booked. So
That's great. Yeah, we'll dive into that a little bit. Um, just to underline, like, yeah, man, hiring the right people, right? Like having the right people
yeah,
on board, because as a business owner, I mean, if it depends on what you're trying to build, but if you are trying to build something of significant size and value, like you've got to buy back your time, and that's why we
yeah,
obviously say hire a PM first,
yeah,
in the course. But like, so that is just for everyone listening too. Like that's a huge thing to walk into a year with a great A player as a PM, because that just buys back so much of your time. And you still got to train, develop them. Don't stop
yeah,
training and
yeah,
developing, but you're not doing so much production anymore. You know.
yeah. Yeah. So I kind of feel
Um,
like a combination of team and then just like reputation of brand is kind of the other side of that, where every year it's just compounded, especially the last couple of years. We've just noticed
how,
that. And so, yeah.
how do you man? And so you say, how do you manage that? What do you mean by that? Like, so you just have an incredible product. Like you're just very focused on the product you are giving.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things we could do to improve, but I'm like, yeah, we don't have a single bad review. Like it's all 5 stars
Yeah,
across the board, and we just cleared 100 reviews, which isn't crazy, but for our area, it's pretty good.
super awesome,
Considering,
dude. Yeah,
the only other companies have been around for multiple generations that have more than that.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
um, but it's just kind of been a focus on like doing what's right for the customer, and not that nothing never goes wrong, but like when it does, I'm like just really trying to put ourselves in their shoes and just like do what's right, you know?
yep,
And
yep,
sometimes it does mean that like I bend over backwards further than I want to for a client. And sometimes it does mean that I don't get paid as much as I want to on a job. But it's kind of been like almost the difficult or those difficult ones that have almost turned the reward. Like those are some of our highest raving clients because all the other contractors they deal with treat them like crap. Right. So
yep,
that's
yep.
a big part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So glad you mentioned that, man. I mean, we just for everybody listening, like focus on your product. Number one, big mistake we made like at the beginning with Foothills was just not having that as a focus. It was like marketing and sales and just get more sales. And I mean, we didn't have a bad product, but we did get 1-star reviews. We had a lot of angry clients. Like we weren't as focused on that. We tolerated subpar performance by painters, like, and we had subpar performance. It wasn't just on them,
Yeah.
and we shifted that focus where it was like, number one thing is top tier painting contractors and the client experience. Like that is it above all. We shifted that focus like 5-6 years ago, and like the trajectory, has just gone like this. I
Yeah.
mean, the return clients, the referrals, like all that, but that was built on top of 6 years of, or 6 or 7 years of not focused on that. So the fact that you're in year 4 and you've got that clarity is super huge, man. Super huge.
Well, I'm like, again, we're just trying to shift largely to more of a prevention on a lot of that side of things, and like that
Yep.
the product is awesome from the beginning. But in the beginning, it was like I said, that one summer where like I spent the entire summer reworking like 80% of our jobs and just ate it on that and suffered for it. But it was just like, I don't know, my reputation just mattered so much to me, I think is what it was. And
Yeah.
that might be a little bit more from like growing up in a small community where everybody knows your name. And you're like,
Yeah.
if my reputation is tarnished, it's tarnished for life. That's how it feels
Yeah.
anyways. Yeah.
Yeah. I felt that too. I grew up in a small town as well, where it was like everybody knew everybody's stuff. So
Yeah.
it always killed me when you get bad reviews. Like we would fix things, but like, and what you're hitting on, Colton, is like the prevention. Like don't have so many problems to begin with by having a great service and just follow up system with your clients after they book, and then work with really good painting contractors. Like do really good work.
Yeah.
Um, just matters more than anything, I think. For a
Oh yeah.
business.
Yeah. It makes a
And
huge
that's like what we're
difference.
selling. That's like what we're marketing. What we're selling is like the service slash product of the paint job. So it should be the number one focus.
Yeah.
If you listen to the podcast, almost every single person that we talk to on this show is someone that we have worked with at Painting Business Pro. If you run a painting company or you're starting a painting company and you are really serious about building an amazing business while having a great lifestyle along the way, that is what we do best. When you work with us, you'll plug in to all of the systems, playbooks, training, and get coaching from me and my team. That's the training, systems, playbooks, and team that runs our currently $40 million portfolio of painting companies. It's the stuff that's working right now. We're actually doing this stuff day in and day out, and we love coaching people and helping people grow. So if you're interested in getting some help and working with us, head over to paintingbusinesspro.com and apply now, and we look forward to talking with you soon.
What's it like in Canada? Like how is it? I guess you don't. How's it different? I always just want to know how Canada is different than the U.S. as best as you can say.
Yeah. It depends which aspects you're talking about. Like just in terms of the painting business in general, you think? Is that where you kind of want to
Yeah,
go?
I don't even know
Yeah.
what I'm asking. Yeah.
Because I'm like,
Sure.
we go to
Yeah.
Colorado and I'm like, for the conference, and I'm like, seems like a relatively similar climate to what we've got over here in Alberta, Southern Alberta. Um, you guys get a lot of wind there in Colorado,
We do. Yeah, we
do
do.
you? Just coming off the mountains there.
I don't even know how it all works. It's actually more on the plains, like up by
Oh,
Wyoming, like
interesting. Yeah.
northeast is where we get a ton
Mm,
of wind. Yeah. But yeah, I guess it's off the foothills. I don't know. Someone's listening
yeah.
to this right now and like just hating me because they know the topography or whatever it is more than me. But yeah, we
Right,
get a
right.
lot of wind.
Yeah, I'm like, then there's a few nuances. I'm like, the labor market is different. I think it depends which city you're in, specifically like where we are, Southern Alberta, kind of. Um, I feel like the labor market's a lot different than a lot of the guys that I talk to at the conferences there, and just like the type of people that are in the labor market seems to be a little varied for sure.
In what way?
Our labor market for painters is a lot more like older. There's not very many young people in the trade, is what I would say. Very few young people in the trade right now. Seems like there's a little more of like, and this is the case. Like I see it with these other companies in town that because of that, there's a little bit of an additional challenge, which has been an advantage to us as we figured it out. But companies feel like they're beholden to the people that are working for them a little bit, almost like you can't get rid of them because it's hard to find people to replace them almost. Whereas and I know this varies totally by region, but I talked to some other guys at the conference and they're like, yeah, there's like, 100 people waiting to take your job basically, right? So people are like, they're giving her, right? Whereas I feel like we definitely have it feels like a little more entitlement. So we've had to really work to find good people, which we have a ton of awesome people now, which is great.
Nice.
But that's been
And you subcontract the workout, yeah.
we subcontract for the most part. We've got 2 full-time employees, and then the other like 16 are all subcontractors.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Good, good. Yeah. One other question. I know you had a bunch of questions for me, so I'll let you grill me next. But so
Sure.
you mentioned commercial. You got 400,000 in commercial work already this year.
Yeah,
Is that
roughly. I'm
right?
like, it might be slightly under that, but we've had a couple big contracts and then a bunch of small repaint ones. Yeah.
How did you get those contracts? How did you get those relationships?
I mean, that's just kind of come over time a little bit. So, one is we had built a relationship doing a couple rental houses, repainting a couple rental houses for a fellow, and then him and his brother just like they went all in on building this massive real estate portfolio. So, they bought a condo unit or a condo building. They gutted every single one of them over the course of a year and a half. We did each unit every single time they had a unit ready. Just built a really good relationship with them, and they're building some new units, new buildings and stuff, which we've kind of been hesitant whether we're going to do new buildings or not because everybody, it's just always a thorn. But
Yeah.
I mean, we charge a lot more, and they just are seemingly willing to pay it to have better people. So,
So it's
so
custom
they're
builds.
yeah, custom build, yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
they're really good to work with. We're still in debate whether we even will just totally cut new construction as far as like specifically interior new construction in the future, but
Yeah.
that's to be determined. The other side is some of the larger contractors building commercial buildings that have reached out to us, and there's just really a lack of competition on the commercial side here. The bigger commercial side, pretty well everybody else in town, like there's only two of the players who will touch anything that's like even a big commercial repaint, like most guys just won't even touch it because it's just
Mm.
intimidating, which is
Yeah.
interesting. So I feel like that's actually an advantage we have here is that like on this commercial side, there's just not a lot of options. So they find out, hey, these guys are growing, they've got good reviews. They'll use us on like a personal project, and then they're like, hey, come bid on our other projects. I still turn down like 90% of projects that get sent to us for bid because I don't want anything to do with most of them. But we got into like exterior precast structures, and those ones have been like gravy. So we're doing one right now. We just started a 130K contract here. Um, and yeah, big exterior precast. We're doing the interior precast. And then we are doing the interior build out there too. But it's just kind of been a reputation thing. And like these contractors are just looking for better options.
Yeah. Nice, dude. That's awesome though. I mean, especially with, going back to the real estate, whether you start doing new construction with them or not, I think like we have a B2B rep now on our team
Yeah.
that's her sole focus is just connection with property
Nice.
managers, real estate agents, roofing companies. Because it's just, yeah, you find a property manager or real estate agent that has, they might have 12 jobs a year for you, where a homeowner is obviously usually only one. So I'm not saying ditch residential, but like there is some real leverage, with those types of relationships.
Yeah, I think the balance to find a little bit with the commercial for us at least has been, we love it. It's a gravy big job, maybe if you get the right kind of job, but then it's like the timelines are usually like real strict. So you got to put a ton of people on it for like a short time. And then, so what these other companies run into in town that have just strictly gone commercial is they got to hire 30 people and then they got to let 20 people go. And then they got to hire 30 people and then they got to let 30 of them go because then they got nothing for a couple months. So I'm really hesitant to like have that be too big of a percentage of our revenue at this stage. But I don't know how you guys have navigated that.
We so a lot more competition here on the
Yeah.
commercial, especially the repaint side, like a ton of,
Mm,
I mean, CertaPro is
yeah.
alive and well. There's a big company called Vivax that does a bunch of repaints. So, but we can take on a ton more commercial, mainly just because we've built out such a good relationship with so many subcontractors where,
Yeah.
We've got enough consistent commercial work, just to speak to your point of like not having to like, we have one crew that almost always has a commercial job we can give them. So that helps. But then we can, we've built out our systems well enough where we can mobilize and get 30 people pretty fast if we do have
Right.
like a $500,000 job kind of fall in our lap.
Yeah.
But that's just been from networking and really like helping our subcontractors like build their businesses too, like
Right.
helping them be more profitable, like helping them learn how to just be more efficient, so that they're not losing a bunch of money with their labor hours mostly. So that's
Yeah.
been
So what
helpful
what have
too,
you
where
guys
it's,
done on that end of things? Because that is something we're thinking about. Because like we just see a huge lack in just financial, just
yeah,
knowledge or even tracking on their end of things. And so what have you guys done on that end of
yeah.
things to kind of help them with all of that?
Yeah, Paul Schroeder would be the one that can answer that better. He's a business owner at Foothills, and he's also
Yeah.
a consultant at National Painting Group, and he runs some of the PPP webinars. Have you been on those ones yet?
Yeah, I've
Um,
been on a few of them. Yeah, I
yeah,
think.
he could speak to it more, but I mean, one big thing is where subcontractors lose their socks a lot is um, on like just the out because they pay a lot of their guys hourly, but
Right.
it's really inefficient where it's like two or three people going to the paint store. But then if there's a line and it takes an hour that plus a 30-minute drive, so you're talking 2 hours for three guys, you're paying 6 man hours just to pick up 10 gallons of paint. Um, and then sometimes they'll send too many guys to a job where a couple guys are kind of just sitting around like not doing much, and
Mm,
so one thing with subs is like, or with, business owners who are doing a lot of the painting for us, you know, if you're going to have multiple job sites, like have someone on that job site that you trust and that's going to manage the hours. And it's not just like, I'm doing two jobs this week, because Paul will
right.
show up to a job site or any of our PMs, or when I used to go to job sites, and it's like, well, you guys are just completely inefficient. Like this, you're saying a job takes 4 days, but actually you could do it in three if you cut this, and this. And
Yeah.
so now they're mostly just so overworked and they're running around in paint stores and stuff. So it's a lot of it can come back to like just calendar management, just like a simple not simple,
Yeah.
but a time management training is where we can help a lot, so I would say those are two ways: time management and like just how to beat a budget on a job site and how to cut the cost of labor hours or overbuying paint or whatever
Yeah.
it may be.
Are most of your subcontractors like subcontract crews or individuals?
What do you mean by that?
So
Sorry.
like most of our subcontractors, they are solo. Like it's just them, if that makes sense. Like I only have
Oh,
one that has people that work with him, if that
oh
makes
no, yeah.
sense.
All our subcontractors are teams. I think we have like one or two one-man shows that just do smaller jobs. But
Right.
no, the vast majority are, multiple team members. I mean, we have one subcontractor at Foothills who has six different crews, so he has like
Right.
18 people under him.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say maybe that's a difference then in like what we've found so far in our labor market is like they're almost all solo. Like I've got one
Interesting.
who
Yeah.
travels from out of town, but he's got a couple guys that come with him. But he's the only one so far. And I think
Yeah.
that might be a little unique to smaller community versus like you go north to Calgary, big hub. There's a way more of that going on. So the one that actually has a crew that comes down right now, he actually comes out of Calgary for us.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
so 2 hours north
Interesting.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is interesting.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. I mean, in like those smaller crews, like if they hired a 1099 contractor just to help with like prep work or like there's, like
yeah.
those types of things, we've helped crews build their teams up where it's like, I mean, everyone's afraid to give away their profit, but
Hmm.
it's like, yeah,
But
but
if
if you
you
get a
can
job,
produce twice as
that's
much,
right.
then it
That's
works.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, okay. Well, enough grilling you. I know you wanted to ask me some questions just about, foothills or just growth or, whatever. Yeah. Ask away, good sir.
Sure. Sounds good.
You're
Okay,
the
well,
host now. Yeah, you're the host.
I'll
Go ahead.
I'll jump into the more simple one first here. Again, I know you said this sounds like something your team might have some more insight on, but you'd have some from just growing. So, um, we've currently been in the process of like just cutting certain types of work, or like starting to really minimize it. So decks and fences, so many variables, even though we don't warranty them. Like just this morning, I got another email. It's like, hey, there's issues with our deck or fence. Probably really minor, but people just, it's only been a year. They expect you to come
Yeah.
just redo it basically. And we
Yeah.
do, because it's our brand and our name's on it, to a degree. If it's been like 2 years, that's a different story. But, if it's been less than a year,
Yeah.
like do it in the fall, it's coming apart in the spring, I'll come back. We're also looking at cutting other certain types of work or really minimizing them. But, do you guys still do a ton of decks and fences? Do you guys have a system around that? Small
Yeah.
jobs, have you cut those too? That's the other side. We get, small jobs that are like less than $1,000. I'm like, we still do them because I don't want to lose the brand equity there necessarily. But I'm like, is that even worth it at this point?
Yeah. So it's interesting question, tough question to answer. I mean, because a lot of it depends on the size of your business too,
Mm-hmm.
right? So like at Foothills and then Elkhorn, one of our other companies, we have a $2,500 minimum job size, especially
Okay.
right now during the summer.
Yeah.
So we just won't touch anything less than that. Some of our smaller companies who are, doing like $1.5 million this year, their minimum might be like 1,000, so they won't
Right.
go under 1,000. So I think like if you're sub 2 million, yeah, like you said, the brand equity and doing the smaller jobs, it can make sense. I will say if you're going to do decks, don't have a warranty on them, but expect to fix a lot of decks within the first year, especially because our climates, like there's going to be, snow sits on those things. Stain doesn't protect wood. You and I know
freezes
that.
on those things. Yeah.
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 So we do the same thing. We'll say, hey, it's not under warranty, but we will make an exception this one time, and just to build that trust. And so we'll do those things because I think it's worth, the $200 or $100 you got to pay someone to fix it. I think it's worth when that person wants to paint their exterior, they're going to call you.
Right.
So yeah, and at our size, because we'll do probably 8 million this year at Foothills. Like we now with fences, our office managers will give a ballpark first. Like, hey, send us a couple pictures and we'll give you a ballpark. Because fences in Colorado, people's expectation is that it's going to cost this, and it's like they think it's going to be $1,000 and it's like $3,000. So
yeah. Well, that might
we
be
just won't
part of
send
it,
our
is that like we
estimators out
probably
there.
just need to up our prices for them to a degree too. Yeah.
For sure up your prices, because then it's like at least you're still giving them a bid. You're not like having to say no. But yeah, I would for sure up your prices on decks and fences without even knowing your prices. You probably should up them.
Yeah.
But so anyway, that's kind of how we manage it. Small, or higher minimum job size, and then with I think with decks too. But I know with fences we do ballparks first. If they're like, "Yep, $3,000 sounds good," then we'll send an estimator out there.
Nice.
But yeah. I will say we do also have a full-time warranty painter on staff now.
Okay.
So he does all those. And then if doesn't have warranty work, then we will take on small jobs.
I see.
Right. So if someone calls in and he's only 2 weeks out and they want like 2 bedrooms done, then we'll book that we don't send a sales rep out there, but we'll book it over the phone, or we'll book it like hourly, like $90 an hour plus materials.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know that I wouldn't do that where you're at right now. I wouldn't do that sub even 3 million. And I don't know if we would do that. Like now we're at the point where we do need a full-time warranty painter, like just to fix things up and just to help where needed. But you don't really need that till you're like past 4 or 5 million,
Yeah, that makes sense.
So,
yeah.
Okay,
cool.
that answer that.
So you've trained your office staff then on like being able to give kind of rough ballparks then?
Yeah, they're pretty well trained on that. And if not, like they work with the estimators all day. So they'll send a picture to an estimator and the estimator can say, yeah, $2,000 ballpark,
Right. That makes sense. Cool.
Yeah. I do know one of our other companies is actually bidding cabinets now, like over the phone, because those are pretty. I don't know if do you guys paint cabinets yet?
Yeah, we do some. I am not actively like pressing to do tons of them, but we do cabinets. Yeah.
Yeah, a little more challenging to book just because it's a little bit more of a want than a need. And it's it could be $7,000 to paint all your cabinets, which again, perceived value cannot always be there,
Yeah.
but
The nice thing on that,
we
I'm
can
like,
do some.
there is a company in town here that like specializes almost in cabinets, but they do like kitchen repaints too. So they actually price anchor pretty high, which is nice for us. So it makes it a little easier.
Nice.
But yeah, you definitely get shell shocked a little bit, or price shocked a little bit with people for sure on
Yeah,
that.
it
And
can be.
I just
Yeah.
haven't pushed it hard because we haven't wanted to do tons yet. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Um,
okay. Well, I'm like, I can jump to kind of next question here because I think that gives me a little bit of insight, which is useful.
yeah.
I think the next thing is just like managing, a growing team of multiple project managers, multiple sales reps. So there's a few questions there. One, I guess, first one on the project manager side of things is like, yeah, just your systems for divvying up or dispersing, who's getting which jobs or, you know, who those sales are going to in terms of which project managers are getting the projects. And you probably have some systems around who does what types of projects, I would guess, even too.
Yeah, somewhat. So we have at Foothills, we have 6 production managers. We just hired another one. That's why I'm just making sure. 1, 2. Well, so 5 production managers, and then Paul Schroeder is the head of production. He doesn't do any production anymore.
Right.
He supports those 5, and he also supports all of our NPG business partners
Yeah.
with hiring and recruiting and training their PMs.
Okay.
So, and then we have a really built out CRM and Salesforce that helps with this question as far as who gets what job. So first answer is location based, like just who's kind of
I
closer.
see.
Because
Okay.
so we got like probably a 2-hour range of our, in any given direction.
Radius.
So
Yeah.
radius, exactly. Yeah. So location starts there. Second is, with having a bigger team, it's nice because, some of our guys have better interior or more high quality interior painters versus some guys
Right.
have exterior painters. So like a couple of our PMs like take, the lion's share of the interiors, and then a couple of them take the lion's share of the exteriors.
That makes sense.
But then there's like, hey, this client is going to be much more involved. They have a lot of questions, right? Like they're going to be pretty more hands-on, let's say, than other clients.
Yeah.
And so our PMs have a meeting every single Monday, just a quick 30-minute meeting just to divvy out the jobs. And it's like, they see the notes from the sales rep and it's like, okay, a little more hands-on, there's who's got a painter available that can maybe take this one on, because you just know there's some of those painters who either work with detail a lot better, better with communication or better with detail. Yeah. So the quick answer is communication is going to be the key when you bring on more than one PM they should just be actively, there's a lot of teamwork in the PM department if you let there be. And so just working together on like, who's going to Tetris this the best, this client and this client, and kind of working it that way for sure.
That makes sense. Cool.
I'll just add, that definitely working. So I say this to everybody, that the connection between the sales rep and the production manager, like that handoff is the most important handoff in the whole business, right? You've got your promise maker in the sales rep. They make all the promises. And then you got your promise fulfiller in the PM. So we made this mistake in the past where it just was like, okay, here, sales reps just, here's a job. It's not their fault, but it was just like, here's a job, you go produce it, my job's done. And that's not the way to do it. It's you as a promise maker, you really want to set your PM up for success because then they generate more referrals and more easily book jobs. And so we've really shifted that paradigm in our businesses where it's like, hey, if you're a sales rep, do the PM's job for them. Like what if you walked into an estimate and you had your project manager hat on and you were looking at the job as if you were going to produce it tomorrow? And when you have that context in front of you, you're asking more questions. You're not over promising. You're getting really clear on questions. Like you're very much more in tune with setting the job up well. What's so great about that too, Colton, is you sell more work because you're not some salesy guy like, oh, we're going to make this look perfect. Like you're very honest with homeowners and people want that. So ironically, it helps the sale more as well. And then you set your production manager up for a win. And then they're happier and they set their painters up for a win and then they're happier and then homeowners are happier. And now you've got word of mouth more and more and more and more. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, I like that. I'd say we've done that pretty well, but I do really like the way you framed it, is like framing it to the sales rep is like, walk in with your production manager hat on and you're starting this job tomorrow. What questions do you have? And that, I
that's
really
right.
like that frame because it kind of forces that mindset. Um,
Yep.
but I would say
Well, and
that
it's a
that
circle,
has been,
right?
yeah, exactly.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like marketing and then it's a straight line to production. It's a circle. So it's like the main thing we say is like wear the next person in line's hat. So like
Yeah.
office manager, if you were going to sell this job tomorrow, how would you want it set up for the sales rep? Sales rep, PM. PM, how would you produce this job in such a way that that homeowner is a raving fan about your business so that marketing is just, there's no marketing needs of the business, you know?
Yeah. I love that.
Um,
That's,
yeah.
yeah, wear the next hat. I'm going to have to put that down for our next meeting.
Where the next
So,
at, dude? Yeah, that's exactly
yeah, I
right.
like
Yeah, that's
that.
what we say. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things we've done on that set of things that started working really well, and we just started doing it this year, is every estimate, no matter what, booked or not, like when the estimate's done, our sales rep takes a walkthrough video and like points out like, hey, this stress fracture is going to need to be addressed. Hey, client specifically said this about this spot here. Hey, we told them we're going to do what we can here, but it's not going to be perfect. And then the painters and the project manager can see that when they get their jobs assigned to them. So that's worked
That's
really
great.
well. But yeah, I'm like, we'll definitely be pushing a little harder on wear the next hat. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's good though, man. Yeah, videos are. I mean, yeah, it's just I think that's a really good thing. I think we do some of that, especially for interiors. We're
yeah.
definitely, and then we just onboarded company cam, so we're getting that rocking as well.
Oh,
That'll
nice.
help a lot. So yeah, TBD on how that goes. But I've heard a lot of good things about company cams, so
Yeah.
I think that's a good move for us. But yeah,
Oh, that's sweet.
all right, you got
Um,
one more for me, or
yeah, let's see.
still
I mean,
looking
we
at
kind of
notes?
covered a little bit of it, but I think it'd be a little similar. In terms of your, well, I guess two things. So one would be just in terms of like, how do you structure compensation when you've got like a director of project managers or a lead project manager who's managing all of those? And then would be kind of a similar thing on the office manager side of things. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is a one really depends on the scale of the business. So
Hmm.
for most business owners, like you can't really have someone not producing or not selling if you only
Yeah.
have two or three or even four or five sales reps, right?
Yeah.
Um, so so this is a work in progress for us, but we've got a pretty good system now where you have a sales lead, and so a sales lead is still gonna, they're gonna make most of their money and do almost a full estimate schedule still. And then they're
Yeah.
supporting, one or two sales reps, right?
Right.
Now, you've got to have really the caveat to that though is you do really have to have good systems built out so that they're not just shooting for the sales lead is not just shooting from the hip. And
Right.
so that's the caveat there is like, and PvP obviously has a lot of good systems, but you've got to like, they got to still make most of their money from doing their own sales. And so they can't spend that much time after the initial onboarding. They can't spend that much time like working with their sales reps. And so they've got to be, the new sales rep has to be trained like super well and have systems to fall back on, you know? Um,
Yeah.
and so you as the owner, if we were to do Foothills all over again, right away, I would hire someone with the intention that they're going to be sales lead and then sales manager. Um,
Hmm.
but you as the owner still got to take responsibility, be responsible for both of their success. And
Right.
so you've got to be available. Like if a sales lead has a full stack schedule, those first few weeks when a new sales rep is starting, like you still want to make sure you're available. You're either in the text group when they're asking questions about pricing, like you're still available for that new sales rep. You don't want to just assume they're going to be taken care of by that sales lead, you
Makes
know?
sense. Yeah.
Um, as far as the compensation package goes, that's what we're playing around with a lot. For the sales lead, a slight bump in salary, but
Yeah.
then a percentage off of their salespeople's total revenue.
Right.
So it's like something around like the sales rep's making 6%, and then the sales lead is going to get like a 0.5% or even a full percent additionally off the total revenue that sales rep
Right.
produced. So they can still make some nice extra, $5,000 to $25,000 that year just on that
Right.
one sales rep. So we found a pretty good sweet spot with that, and we want to make that more and more lucrative for sales leads. But that comes back to managing finances and managing a budget really well and knowing your
Yeah.
numbers in a lot of depth of like,
So you're still
can
targeting
you
like
support that?
7% or less cost on sales though. Is that kind of the deal?
Yeah,
More or
like
less?
we 7.5 ish.
Seven and a half. Yeah.
We just yeah, last year we added a quarterly bonus based off of sales performance. So like a sales rep can, they make their monthly bonuses and then they can make a quarterly bonus based off of if they sell 50 to 55%, they get an extra bit. If they sell 55% or above, they get even more because and we can justify that because if we give that sales rep 100 estimates, well, if they're selling 50 of those versus 60, they're selling an extra 10 jobs. So, for us, an extra 60K in revenue. Okay, they're going to get a share of that profit,
Right.
kind of profit,
Yeah.
share revenue, whatever you want to call it, like because they provided more value to the company, and so
That makes sense.
so around 7.5, I would say, is where we're at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That actually brings up another question that I hadn't thought of for a while. But so you've structured kind of your bonuses monthly and you say quarterly. Is that right?
Yeah, monthly, quarterly, and yearly.
Okay. So with kind of one of the things that I've been hung up on with that a little bit is with kind of the ebb and flow in the year of like, I'm like, there's chunks of the year where we're probably going to like, it's going to be difficult to hit certain numbers. You go like, I don't know, December, January, February, maybe. And then you've got your crazy times of the year, like spring and summer, where it's just like, if you show up, you're booking a ton of the jobs, right? So
Yeah.
how do you guys structure like the targets? Do you have different targets for different months of the year, or is it just across the board? Hey, there's a target.
So good question. I think you can do it both ways. We do it straight across the board. So you just have your
Yeah.
minimum you got to hit every 4 weeks, and then you make that extra money. Because that's easier to manage, quite frankly. Number one.
Now, if they are below that for a month or two, and then they have a month where they're way above it, how does that work out?
So that's where we don't fault that. Like we don't take away salary or anything
Yeah.
like that if they don't hit a minimum. So that's kind of the trade-off. Like it's less
Yeah.
time for you to have to manage it if you just keep it as a flat across the board all
Hmm.
year. And in November, December, actually, we actually had some sales reps hit bonuses November, December. But assuming they're not
Yeah.
going to hit the minimums November, December, well, they still have their full salary, and they're not
Right.
punished for like not hitting those numbers.
Yeah.
Um,
I
if
guess,
that
yeah,
makes
the
sense.
reason I asked that is I'm like, just when I've looked at it before, I've been like, oh, if we're below for a few months and then I'm paying them the upside still when we are above, I've felt like, oh, I'm going to end up above 7.5% kind of as a whole at the
Yeah,
end. But I guess that's how you structure the salary partially too.
that's right. Yeah, so
What's,
6%. We do 6%. And I mean the salary is just based off of like that minimum exact 6% number.
hmm
So and then they go over that, and so yeah, you will end up paying a blended rate of you shouldn't do much more than 7.5.
right,
That I mean, I guess if you're not, it depends on how many months you're not full boat selling,
right. Yeah,
but that's why we'll do pretty big interior blitzes in the wintertime just to at least try
makes
and get them to
sense.
hit that minimum.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
No, that makes sense. Yeah,
But I
that's
mean,
helpful.
look, I mean, I want to pay people more and more. Like we want to be,
Yeah,
we want people to be able to build wealth as a sales rep, as a PM, like actually build something. And so we're trying to get, we want to definitely like over deliver maybe, let's say, to our people.
yeah.
And where can we cut costs in other places? And I'm not saying go pay people a bunch of money because that's not business smart either. But like we're always trying to figure out how to pay our people more because I mean, they're happier that way and it's like the right thing to
Oh,
do. And
yeah,
it's,
totally.
they're the ones running the business. Right. So, yeah.
Well, I'm like, I definitely lean that way. Like, we do pay people more than most everybody else here in our market. However, I guess where I'm coming from with these questions is I'm like, I just don't want to shoot myself in the foot and be like, oh, sales costs us 15% at the end of the year, right? If that makes
Yeah.
sense. So I'm like, I just want to
Yeah.
walk that line a little carefully, and then thinking ahead too to like, as you're growing and that organization changes, I don't want to be like, actually, I got to reduce your commission percentage so that we can pay the director of sales or something, right?
Totally, dude. Yeah, I mean that's
Yeah,
it. You can always add. You can't really take away.
exactly.
I mean, you
Yeah,
can, but yeah, I've had to do that, and it's not as fun of a conversation compared to like, hey, we're going to bump your pay.
yeah,
So
exactly. Yeah,
it's a good question. It comes back. I think like we're mainly talking sales here. Obviously, it comes back to you don't want to have too overstaffed of a sales team. You want to be
hmm,
running close to the red. You want to be running like
pretty
pretty
lean.
pretty close to the numbers there. Yeah. Um, and again, it goes back to your marketing mix too, right? Like you got to make sure that for you as a business owner, like you want to be spending a lion's share of your time on your marketing mix,
Yeah,
and just on marketing period. It's like really, it's like especially when you get up into $4, $5, $6 million revenue range, it's like marketing and team building, and that's
yeah,
all you should be doing. You should not be doing you got to get yourself out of the doing of any of the roles as quickly as possible. And it's like again,
yeah,
marketing, like external funnel marketing, internal funnel team building.
yeah.
So yeah.
No, that
But
makes sense. Um,
yeah. Good
yeah, I
questions you're
appreciate that.
asking though. I
That's
mean,
helpful
yeah.
insights. Yeah.
Well,
And
and for
even just
everybody
like
listening,
how you
like
guys think through it is useful for me to just be like, ah, it's a better framework for me to like start working through it. Right. So
yeah.
yeah.
Well, and like for those listening, like you're asking the right questions, Colton, because for everyone listening, you got to know your numbers. Like if you don't know your numbers, you don't know your business, and you are literally losing money if you don't know your numbers, like in pretty immense detail. Um, and so a lot of these questions, like you got to pull open a blank budget and put in the revenue number that's like the count on it number, and then reverse engineer like what
Yeah.
can you afford, where are you bleeding too much money, like where is the money going, and everyone thinks they kind of know that when you're doing a million or not, and it's like no, you might not. Like look at what
Oh,
you're
you
spending at the
lose money
paint
so
store.
fast. Yeah.
Yeah, look at what painters are costing you more or less. I mean, so you've just got to know your numbers to be able to ask that or to be able to answer those questions too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. That makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah,
Sweet. Well, I appreciate you taking a few minutes to answer those questions.
yeah, man. Yeah, no, thank you, and thanks for being on. Let's see. Any last word? There's quite a few Canadians more and more coming into Painting Business Pro, which is cool. Um, Actually, Casey is now he's the head of sales at Painting Business Pro, and I think he's in
Yeah. I
Alberta as
chatted with him
well.
last time a little bit. He's up in Edmonton,
Yeah. Okay.
right?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
Edmonton just won last night in overtime too, didn't they?
Oh, there you go. I'm a
Hockey.
failing Canada. I don't follow the hockey. So
No, you're like the one Canadian. Yeah.
I know.
Um,
Yeah.
he's a
Yeah.
super great guy, dude. I love that guy. I'm so glad he's on the team. He's a phenomenal human being.
Yeah.
So,
He's cool. Yeah. He seems
yeah,
awesome.
you Canadians are good people up there. So,
Yeah. Most of us. Yeah.
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 All right, Colton. Well, hey, man, thanks so much for being on. We'll definitely have to do this again.
Yeah. That sounds good. Thanks, Ben.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
Hey guys, if you're enjoying the show, it would mean the world to me if you would leave a quick review for the podcast and what you gotten out of it. It helps our show reach more people and inspire more people. Thank you so much.